And folks, here we go. Mike from around the world.
Well, good evening, Pastor Paul Begley.
Good evening, Mike. Let me crank up your sound as loud as we can. There we go. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Hopefully the volume's okay. Is it okay?
Yeah.
I believe I'm at the highest setting here. So.
Yes. It sounds great. Coming through my phone really good. Great to have you tonight.
Wonderful. Well, it's good to see you.
Well, good. I can't see you, but that's all right. It is good to see me. Okay, I appreciate it, Mike. And you know what, Mike? This is it's crazy. My mind's been thinking about our conversations over the last 5 years, and I remember you saying that there's a time coming when people's minds will be messed up. And they'll start saying things and doing things so out of character you won't even believe it. Is that what we're watching right now with the pipe bombs and the yelling and screaming and the rhetoric all across this country?
Well, I take it the dissension is certainly there, and everybody can see that, and it's increasing. It's outrageous. It really is outrageous. You know, I have my viewpoint, as I discussed a long time ago, about some of the biological changes that will be taking place in the world. And if you notice, I can almost, with a great certainty, guarantee that most people are aware that they have been fighting these fits of anger, these outbursts and rage. A person is moved to a degree of anger more quickly now than ever. And I believe that people are starting to become aware that it's almost like they're on the edge on a continuous basis, is what it is. And they're easily provoked. But you also have this degree of mental sickness increasing in this world. Now, as Christians, most people make a distinction between a mental illness, right, and spiritual things. Of course, they're somewhat intertwined to a degree. But if you notice, that's been rising. The mental degradation of most folks is rising. They can't make very good decisions, and they are irritated. Everybody's going through this process of irritation, almost as if something biologically has affected the human brain, right? But not only, let me ask you this. You have animals, right, Pastor Paul?
Yeah, I do. I got two cats and a dog.
Okay. Have you noticed in your animals, let's just say a difference, a slight difference in their awareness? Have you noticed it in their awareness only? Have you noticed a slight difference? Because if you have it, people everywhere will begin to notice, and I'll go ahead and say it, they're going to notice a behavioral change in their pets, not because they're getting old. It's because pets are very susceptible to their senses, right? So then changes in environment cause a quick reaction in the pets, which means they're going to become a bit, let's just say they're going to become a bit on edge also, right? Okay. Now, and that some of this is tied into some of the atmospheric changes and the geological changes that we're having. Okay, so there's changes we're having, and I know that radiation is up about 18% than it was, let's say, 2 years ago. And that's based on the charts we're seeing. And I know we've got record volcanoes. We had a volcano erupt today. We've got record typhoons and monsoon rains, and we've seen the straight line winds, and we know that we're having definite earthquakes constantly. A 6.8 just hit Greece 2 hours ago. So today is the day. You said that basically October the 25th, that's when NASA's deep space probes were going to probably encounter this third wave of energy. Are we feeling pressure from this thing even before it gets here? Radiation is cumulative. Okay, photons, like particles, radiation, right? Protons, electrons, neutrons, all these things, all these particles in space that are heading towards us, they have a habit of moving. They can move mass. They can cause gravitational changes. Now, this is not talked about too much, right? So to give you an example of something, I have to cautiously speak about some technology, military technology. But take, for instance, some of the military technology available today, okay, military weapons. So we're going to take let's talk about the heat ray, all right? You may know about the active denial system, ADS, all right? It's a radio frequency gun that fires at 95 gigahertz, reaching up to about 1,000 meters.
What is this gun? What is this gun called again?
It's an active denial system, right? ADS. It's called the ADS for short. And what it is a heat gun or a heat ray.
Okay.
It's an ADS. Okay, so your microwave oven operates at about 2.45 gigahertz. That's what a microwave oven does. Now, what does that do? It heats up water molecules in your food, right? So when it begins to affect the water molecules in food, it heats up. It begins to get hot, right?
Yeah.
Now, this weapon, or this weapon, operates at waves of 95 gigahertz.
Okay.
And it reaches up to about 1,000 meters. All right. You have good operational control of this thing at 1,000 meters. Its designation is for air dominance, all right, perimeter security, crowd control, things of that nature. But when this thing is in operation, within about a few milliseconds, a person can feel their skin burning, right? Whoa. And then it feels like they're on fire.
Right.
When this microwave is not on them, there's an instant cooling effect. Okay. Now, what's happening here in this process is that the water molecules in your body, in your skin, at 95 gigahertz is being heated up but reflected off, right? So that's at 95 gigahertz.
Okay.
If it were lower than that, it would penetrate the entire body, burning your body up from the inside out. It would cook you. Okay,
that's it, and that's at 95 kilohertz, and that's with some kind of microwavable gun.
Right, so ADS, just call it ADS or active denial system. Okay, so this thing, so in space you have microwaves, right? You have an entire spectrum of particles and waves headed towards us. These are cosmic rays, which carry very charged particles, right?
Right.
Those particles have a movement to them, which follow a wave pattern, all right, a vibration. When they enter into our solar system, they push photons. There are photons you can see, photons you cannot see, right, which would equate to mass. This mass, right, is being shuffled in our solar system, all right? So the more they come in, the more mass is being thrust up against the planets, causing geological changes internally.
Okay, now, is that why Mars went through this unbelievable dust storm? The entire planet was in a total state of chaos of a dust storm. It killed the little rover, I guess, up there. I mean, rover, you can't come back over. I mean, we can't hear from it no more. Is that from this mass of photons being pushed by these microwaves?
Well, you have that pressure coming in beyond the heliosphere into the inner planets. You also have the sun, which is absorbing all this energy, feeding it right back to the planets again. So we have a cyclical reaction, right? Now, let me give an example of this too, because you're talking about particles pushing, right, mass, or causing a mass to form, right, which we can identify as pressure, right, or force pushing up against something. So let's take a 10-mile-an-hour wind, okay? 10 miles an hour is pretty harmless, correct? But if it were to strike the Sahara, right, and pick up dust 10 miles an hour, that wind, that harmless wind with dust particles, becomes deadly. It builds up because it's building up mass, right? So you get smacked in the face by a wall of sand, which is pretty heavy, right? Just like a cloud. The average cloud up there, the average storm cloud, is millions of pounds floating over your head, quite harmless, right? Containing water. But if you were to fly through that cloud, you would impact a force. All right. So with this force comes pressure. Correct. You're going to have an increased pressure. Now, at first, this particle pressure right? By the way, the same particle pressure is used in certain formulas concerning CERN. Right, it is used in calculations. But with this pressure, you have actual geological changes.
Did you say
of the Earth?
Now you're saying CERN. Now you're adding CERN to the burn of the microwaves coming from the deep space. Deep space. Is that right?
Well, if you equate some of the formulas of force, you're going to find them in CERN. Right?
Okay.
Now, you already know, Pastor Paul, I think, outside of the box, right? Because I can't listen to anything common or anything that's spoke about too much. How can that be right if everybody believes it? It surely can't be right?
Right.
So with CERN, I believe this with CERN. One of the greatest inventions with CERN, beyond the beam itself, are the magnetic forces involved. Right? I want you to ask yourself a question. If a lot of radiation and highly charged particles are coming into the solar system, what is our only protection from that and from the sun? What's the only protection? Magnetosphere, right?
Yeah, that's the shield around the Earth, the magnetosphere that softens the blow, I guess, from the coronal mass ejections, the UV rays, the cosmic rays that inundate our planet.
Particles follow the magnetic lines of force, right? So it's like a highway. They will follow the magnetic lines of force going around the Earth. They're directed towards the poles, okay? The eight caps of the Earth, they're directed towards that. So if something were to happen to the magnetosphere, we would have no protection from any of the cosmic rays coming in from space or from the sun. And again, without the magnetosphere, with a glitch in it, with a weakening of it, the sun right now would fry the Earth without the magnetosphere.
What? But wait, Mike. But wait. But you're saying, and from what I'm understanding, I believe you've said it before, that CERN literally weakens the magnetosphere around the Earth, plus a solar minimum weakens it as well. Is that right?
Well, CERN actually can manipulate the magnetosphere.
Okay.
So it can do both. It can do both based on polarity. It can certainly disrupt the magnetosphere. NASA knows this. The European Space Agency knows this because they lost some probes during CERN's activity. And if somebody will go back and check the logs of when the experimentation was going on with CERN, when they power up the magnets, and then begin to search in the European Space Agency about incident reports with probes in space, they're going to see a correlation. Right? Okay. So then CERN's magnets absolutely affect the magnetosphere around the Earth. But Pastor Paul, now this point I have to drive home. Without the magnetosphere, the sun right now at solar minimum, with no CMEs and no solar flares, would fry the surface of the Earth.
So that's our invisible force field naturally put there by God to protect us from the very life source that helps us. But, the sun. I mean, we can't live without the sun, but at the same time, if we don't have the protection to shield us from it, we'd get fried also.
Yeah, we can't do it. And right now, everybody should know that the sun's intensity, because of a chemical change, something is happening to the sun. And whatever it is, right, it's exponential, which means the sun is changing.
Okay.
So all these particles coming from the sun, right, are redirected from the Earth, away from the Earth, right, by the magnetosphere, sucked into the poles, and then it goes inside of the planet. So all the radiation we're exposed to, right, with the absence of photons, which is light, which we see, we get the harmless radiation, but externally the Earth is absorbing just massive amounts of radioactive particles, including everything out there, right? So much so, Pastor Paul, that in 2014, the Earth began to emit gamma rays from inside of itself, which means it's almost in an overload capacity.
Wait a minute. Now, wait a minute. You're saying this started in the year 2014, which is when you started talking to us. You started telling me, and you were teaching us that, hey, something's going on out there. And I think that's when you introduced the first time ever uttered the words, the 5 waves of energy. And I'm thinking, what is he talking about? And what is the source of that? And, and by the way, when you get ready to talk about these waves, I'm going to ask you another question. Don't let me forget about the goblin, okay? The goblin that NASA has now identifying. I mean, look, NASA said there was a planet X. Then they said, wait a minute. planet number 9, or maybe it's a dwarf star, or maybe it's Nibiru, and now it's the Goblin. I mean, are we talking about the same entity the whole time?
Pastor Paul, in truth, that's a whole different paradigm. It's a whole different paradigm because, well, let's just say there's something happening on Earth and in space at the same time, right? Something that people are talking about, but they're not really speaking about it.
Okay.
So there's something on Earth happening.
Okay,
right?
okay, so
it's involving everybody. That's not a rumor, by the way. It's actually happening on the Earth, and there's something in space that seems to correlate with it. Because take note, the things in space, right? There were rumors flying and escalations and information concerning what people call Nibiru, and then all of a sudden, what did you hear? Strange meetings. Okay, I'll go that far on that one. But there is a correlation, right? Because the money, or not the money, but let's just say the investment of people's time, their time is being spent in one of two things on this earth. And I can tell you right now, it is not humanitarian affairs, right?
No.
It's almost like a reality TV show is playing for the people, right? And they're not paying attention to what's going to smack them in the head, right? So...
Okay, just with that, I know you're going to get technical, but let me work with you. So in other words, layman's terms, they got black budgets. They're spending gazillions of dollars building underground cities, underground laboratories to protect the elitist, or a few thousand people are going to be hand selected. And what they're showing us, they've been dumbing us down for a long time. We've been trying to keep up with the Kardashians, and we've been running around. Now all of a sudden, social media comes along. People are getting more aware. People are researching. Guys like you are coming out and dropping us all kinds of hints. We're feeling pressure building. We're watching volcanoes erupt. The cats are going crazy. The cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon. I mean, everybody's losing their mind. And Maxine Waters is freaking out. And so what I'm asking to you is then, are we seeing the results of this wave? Have we felt the third wave yet? I mean, or are we feeling the pressure from it, or what's going on?
The geological changes in the Earth are an indication that something is building throughout the entire solar system. It's not just the Earth. It's every single planet that we can observe.
Okay, I got
there's an effect. Okay, now something is also happening to Jupiter and Saturn all of a sudden. All of a sudden, something is building up in them.
What's happening?
Well, everybody's at a breakneck pace to go and observe, or to by way of optics, begin to measure certain gases to see which ones, and they need to know the temperatures. They need to know certain chemical reactions because something is happening with Jupiter. Right? Now, the average person cannot observe Jupiter from so far away. So all the news everybody has on the planet comes from a controlled source, unless you're an amateur astronomer, in which case you can't be in certain places for the best observation at the closest times. But there's a chemical change happening in the atmospheres of just about everywhere, right? You guys are going to hear about water lakes on Mars. Right? You're going to hear about a type, what looks like vegetation on Mars. You may laugh out, but they're going to tell it to you, right? It's no conspiracy theory or anything else, which means they're going to slowly leak some things out to compensate so that they can maintain their trust up until the last minute. And biblically, that biblical foundation pretty much indicates that they're not going to tell anybody. Everybody's going to really find out about it the hard way. When it takes effect in a person's life, that's when they're going to know. Right? So the world's going to be oblivious as a whole to what's happening. But still, I can't get away from the situation. We have seen planetary escalations so much in earthquakes, in volcanism. The storms, we're having supercells, and now they're starting to make them normal. We have a thunderstorm that's half the size of the U.S., and people say, well, it's no big deal so long as it doesn't hit me. We've had flooding and droughts at the same time. So these are geological changes of magnitude. But the problem is you can't look at these changes over 1 year. You must do it over a 10-year period. Right? So you must compress them to see what's actually going on. In the scheme of things, this Earth everybody's waiting for the big one. And I always use this for an example. Everybody waits for the big one in California, correct?
Right.
Everybody waits for the big one in Yellowstone, correct? Right? But think about this. With all the earthquakes that we're having on a continuous basis, do they not equate to a 10.0 earthquake every single month? The damage, the structural damage is the same, right? There's a steady vibration of the earth. There's a shifting of everything with all the storms and with all the water damage, right? We're losing tons of money in real estate, tons of money by way of insurance companies. And this is going to break the bank. All these insurance payments going out, they cannot be sustained. That's a story that's going to hit the fan here shortly.
All right, Mike. So we're seeing changes in our atmosphere. We're seeing changes with earthquakes have increased, volcanoes, just like you told us. You said, look, Paul, there's going to be volcanism. You're going to be record volcanoes. It happened last year. It's on pace to break again this year. You have record earthquakes, record storms. We've seen cyclones. We're seeing typhoons like never before. Hurricanes with strength. Category 5 is nothing anymore. And so, Mike, we're earthquakes, everywhere. So the tsunami that wiped out Indonesia, they told us they said there was no tsunami warning. They said that it was called off, and then all of a sudden a 30-foot wall, 500 miles an hour, slams into Indonesia and kills over 2,000 people. So is it that they don't know? Is the intensity of all of these apocalyptic signs increasing? And is it being caused by this wave of energy that, I don't know, is the binary system out there at the end of our solar system? But are they hiding let me say this, Mike, they shut down so many. There's 7 observatories were closed in one day. You know what happened in New Mexico with the FBI?
Yes.
So it's like they're hiding all the cameras.
Yeah, you know what? Didn't we speak about this? We spoke about this before, Pastor Paul, that there would come a day, right, when they really could not hide certain things. So
Yeah.
the only thing they have left, because if a person takes their time and they begin to look at these geological reactions, atmospheric conditions, if they begin to look at the behaviors of humanity, at mankind, how nuts we are becoming a world of crazy people, right?
Right.
And we're at a breaking point right now. We're at a severe breaking point. But that's another subject. If they looked at all these things, they wouldn't be deceived. The problem is, right, social media, through its engagement, is having people to look for evidence of anything in one day, not over a span of time. So people have this mindset: if it does not come to my front door, right, it's not too real. We can deal with it. But if it comes to their front door, then they'll say, well, that's the end of it then. So we have this mindset: if it does not come to our front porch, it doesn't exist. The problem with that is we are dying slowly on this planet. I mean, literally falling apart, and things are happening by way of prophecy. But because we can only observe over a short amount of time, we can't take it seriously. So let me ask you this. Can I give you a scenario? It takes about 1 minute.
Sure.
I'm going to give you a scenario to think about here.
All right.
Suppose the lifespan of a human being was only for one season, right? We have 4 seasons. Suppose it was only for one, right? So that when summer came around, right, somebody would start talking about winter. And that person speaking about winter saying, hey, you've got to prepare for your children because the ice is coming in this. And they're going to say, ice? What is that? Nobody knows about ice. There they go telling them fairy tales again. But why? Because they cannot observe the winter times. But those in the winter left evidence of something disastrous, something unexpected, right? And if we had the lifespan of only one season, we would do exactly what we're doing today, which is we would live in denial, a type of cloud of thought concerning future events, because we don't understand past events, right? We don't understand the cyclical nature of this solar system, that something has been passing through and wiping things out, right? But the only difference this time is the Messiah. So we know this is going to be the absolute last time. There's no next time after this.
Okay, let's get into this, because what you're saying is, okay, we've heard that Nibiru or Planet X is every 26,000 years, according to some of the ancient texts that were written, that were and it hasn't been 26,000 years. If we go by the creation, man's been on here around 6,000 years. But that based on the scientific observing of the things that happened that are affected by wherever the Planet X or whatever this is, Wormwood, wherever it's at on the outside of our solar system, it's affecting the Earth. It's coming back around. Everybody knows it. I mean, I shouldn't say everybody. We're suspecting it. And the scientific energy, the scientific research that we're getting, the information we're getting is proving that this binary system is on its way back around. And like you said, this time we're not going to survive it. If we look at the prophecy, it says the earth is going to melt with a fervent heat. That's in 2 Peter. The earth is going to burn up, melt with fervent heat. It will not last forever. Jesus said, heaven and earth shall pass away, but my word abideth forever. So the Messiah is coming. We know, as Christians, we know the Lord is coming. He told us, when you see these things begin to come to pass, look up, lift up your head, for your redemption draweth nigh. He said men will have heart attacks. Men's hearts will fail them for fear, for looking after those things coming on the earth. So I guess I'm asking you, Mike, is what Jesus was saying would be coming on the earth at his return, is that what's happening? Is this it? I'm not saying it's tomorrow, but obviously we can see the day approaching. Is that what's going on?
Pastor Paul, I'm going to say one more thing in support of what you just said. In the Bible, there's a little known passage that when Jesus died on the cross, right?
Yeah.
Now this is going to sound strange until the scripture's read, but that would mark the end times. That would be the end times. So it's only been 2,000 plus a few years.
Right, okay.
2,000 plus years.
Okay.
That's it.
Yep.
Because in Revelation, Jesus said the time is at hand, right?
Right.
Now, for the time to be at hand means we do live in that era of grace and mercy, which was only for a small season of man's existence. And we were born inside of that season, right? So it's very difficult for people to recognize, hey, you're not in the time where God gave Noah the instructions to build the ark.
Right.
You're standing on the platform going into the ark, which is Christ, and the rains are coming in a few days, right?
Right.
So
you're saying that
all these things happening, right?
Yeah.
Jesus being the beginning of the season when he ascended to the Father the first time, him being the end of the season when it comes back again. There were some things promised to happen in between that time.
Right.
We're living through it.
We're in it. We're in it. This is the era. This is the era of the apocalypse. That's what the Lord, or the revelation, the unveiling, the revealing.
Yes, it is.
And you're saying, because we live in such a short little time. I'm 56 years old, all right? And I'm in this little bitty time. But to me, it's a whole lifetime. But to God, it's a drop in the bucket in his huge universal, and he's Alpha and Omega, the beginning, the ending, the first and the last. So what you're saying is it's hard for us to comprehend that we happen to be born during the season of the soon return. We're on the plank. We're at the door, aren't we?
That's right. And then Pastor Paul, given the things that are happening on the earth, right? Given the fact that we can all observe it. But most of all, what blows me away, right? Because there was no way Jesus was going to come back unless every single person had an honest opportunity to choose him. Right. That means they have to be able to choose him. Pastor Paul, we live in the only time in history where a person has access to everything, where Christ has been presented. And they have a choice.
You're right.
They have an honest choice.
You're right. What you're saying is, when this gospel, one of the things Jesus said, folks said in Matthew 24, Mike is right. He said, when this gospel is preached unto all the world for a witness unto all nations, then shall the end come. And now, just now, the technology has finally arrived, folks, to where the whole world can hear the gospel. And Mike, there's something else you're saying. And then everybody's knocking, they're beating down the chat room door right now. And want me to ask you a question. But what you're saying is this. Look, something has to cause the whole world to want to look to God. There has to be a crisis of unprecedented, of biblical proportion. And then every human being on this planet will have to turn to the heavens and say, if there's a God, help me. Who is this? And they're going to turn away from these pagan gods. They know these pagan gods are useless. They're going to be looking to the Messiah. So something's going to happen. So I guess my question to you is, Is this it, Mike? I mean, I can't say to you, when does the wave hit the earth? You did pretty well know when the first and second wave was going to hit, and they definitely hit, and it showed up on different monitors, and then we've seen the effects of it. So, in your best opinion, when is this third wave going to hit, and what kind of power is it? How strong is it?
Well, you have a pre-cook stage. You know the preheat stage in your oven, right?
All right.
And right after it preheats, right, you have the real cooking going on, right?
Right.
I will hold firm to this fact, and the animals are going to let everybody know that we're in that cooking phase. We're in the breaking point phase, the actual breaking point. And what I mean by that is this, because you have the entire earth is shifting and changing. Magma is moving under the earth at a terrible rate, right? I often talk about the infrastructure of the gas lines being affected by magma, right? I often talk about the crops, a total die-off of the crops. They have moved the crops, right? They've moved them. They're paying people to move entire crops into areas where lava cannot reach underneath the ground. They have a problem underneath the earth, right? There is a super cold era, 2 of them now, that we have 3 in the U.S. So not 1, not Yellowstone, but 3, Pastor Paul, right? So the observation will be this. The gas release from inside the ground is beginning. It is going to stink in a lot of places.
Wow!
Deathly sick. That smell of these smells that will come out of the ground are going to cause a nauseating sickness we're going to have to put up with, possibly, we don't know how long.
What kind of gas? Well, okay, so what kind of gases are those? Are those
You're looking at methane, right? You're looking at certain oxides that will pop up too. You're also looking at the jet stream, right? Now listen to this, when these gases come out, when the carbon increases, when the methane increases, because we're going to have a lot of these leaks this year. This year coming up, we're going to have these leaks. In fact, if we get through the winter time, right, without being scraped too hard, if we get through that during the summertime, right, we're going to notice a saturation effect in the ground so bad that these places where we have dug pits and salt mines and everything else, we don't know what a sinkhole is until the snow melts this time around, because each year that escalates. But what you may not know is that the magma is forcing a brand new formation underneath the earth, deep inside of the earth. And these chambers of gas, it's only a matter of time before they begin to ignite or to be shifted or to be moved, and they're going to be forced out of the ground. Not to mention the melting of rock, of some of the rock that's near the surface, right?
Okay.
They have trapped methane inside of them. They have trapped gases, poisonous gases inside of them, right? These are carbon-based gases. These are ignitable gases that will be oozing out of the ground all over the place. California will have a very bad problem with it. Very bad problem.
California will have a very bad... So, Mike, let me see if I got this right, because, this is breaking news to a lot of us, okay? A lot of folks. And I want to say right now, I want to thank God. We're in the 90-day here where we can't go live on our main channel, so we're going live on our backup channel. I want to thank you people, because we just went over 1,000 people with us live on the backup channel and almost 900 people on the new live stream channel. This shows me that people are very interested, and we're overcomers. No matter what they throw at us, by the grace of God, we are overcomers. We are overcoming the obstacles. We have to. We're in the end times. And I just want to thank you, Mike, for breaking this information to us tonight. You're saying we're going to see gases rising because the magma is going to be, I don't know if it's heating up. Is the magma heating up from this wave of energy? I know you're reluctant to say, Paul, there is a planet X. You told me one time there was. Maybe I talked you out of it. I don't know. But there's something happening, and it's okay to say it. Yeah, Paul, there's a binary system that's putting a ton. Are we getting pressure causing the magma to heat up, or is it a gravitational pull from this huge body out there about 10 times bigger than the Earth? Which one's causing it, Mike? Pressure pushing or gravitation pulling?
I believe it's a combination of a few things, right? But one of the big factors right now, until we have recognizable reactions. Here's one thing I believe: because the heliosphere is so weakened right now, right? At solar minimum, the heliosphere, which is a shield around our solar system, is weakened. Cosmic rays come in, right? Much more come in than usual. Now, when they come in, because of that solar minimum, they're not being pushed back out. The Earth then absorbs these cosmic rays, and they're redirected into the poles.
Okay,
right?
I got that.
Into the poles. I have to keep saying into the poles they come.
Yes,
right?
I got it.
From there.
I got
Where
it.
does it go from there?
You got the
Right?
you've got this magnetosphere. The pressure, the waves come. The magnetosphere grabs them, holds them, but pulls them and pushes them right into the poles, both the north and south poles, and it goes in and heats the core of the Earth. Is that what you're saying?
So you're looking at something like a nuclear reactor, right? That too many particles are coming into. Well, guess what? Because of physics, all that energy coming inside the planet has to be released somewhere, right? So because it's in the form of radiation, which is heat, right?
Yeah.
We're going to have more heat. I mean, great heat inside the planet, which means more melting of the rock, more condensing of other things. This is why they have found a second massive ocean inside of the Earth, held in a pocket, right? I mean, a massive ocean of water. What do they call it? I believe they called it not blue water, but the purple ocean or something like that, because the water looks like a perfect purple, right? It's purified water inside. It's a deep cavity. I mean, we're talking about deep down into the Earth. And there's purple water in there, and the chemical structure of this water is very different. Anyway, because they found the other one in 2017, right?
Okay,
there was a cavernous body of water, an ocean inside of the Earth they found that holds more water than all the oceans put together.
Well,
it's inside of the Earth.
Okay, again, you have to understand. I mean, I read this Bible back and forth so many times. Every time you bring something like that up, I read where the Bible said that during the days of Noah, during the flood, that the fountains of the earth opened up. I mean, is that what you're saying? That there's they found an ocean, a purple ocean, so deep into the heart of the earth, and this. I mean, God's creation is ever changing, but this is the final phase. We're in the end. This is the final phase, isn't it?
Yeah, because you know what? And the Bible says that the scripture you use all the time, men's hearts are going to fail to prepare for looking after those things which are coming upon the earth. And what are they doing, Pastor Paul? They're discovering all these things during this time. They're discovering things deep in the earth, things outside of the earth, and they keep discovering. This almost constitutes why they will have a fear of things coming upon the earth, because they know at some point we're going to have to face the collapses of the things that they're finding. They're documenting these things, and see, to me, it's all too real. Right? It's all too real. Because when you're there are certain things that you're privy to. You can't. I wish I had an eraser to get them out of my head. Right? Some of the things that I've learned, but you can't unlearn once you know them. And I know some serious individuals who do not sleep at night. They can't sleep at night because they're so worried. What if this goes, and what if this goes? And the more they discover, the more complex the nature of the fear gets, right? I mean, it just becomes a complex fear.
Okay.
And we have some people, this breaking point of knowledge. Now, take note of the people, right? Take note of the people. People right now are on the edge. It's psychological. Do you know why, though? I'll tell you why, right? It's because they have taken in too much knowledge that they have no ability to process it all. So they're taking in all this knowledge. Now, instead of having a peaceful family, instead of having a peaceful life, instead of having a few thoughts, they have the thoughts of the world in their heads, right? So with all this knowledge comes many different directions. And then follows an overwhelming of the people. Now, that's just one, that's one small episode of what's happening with the people. The rest of it is biological. But when you deal with a lot of knowledge, right, your burden is very heavy.
All right, let me
sorrow to a person. It really does.
Yeah, the Bible does say, "Much learning bringeth sorrow to the soul," and another scripture says, "Men will go to and fro, and knowledge will increase." And but with knowledge comes great sorrow. I mean, that's right out of the pages of the Bible. So to your point, they're hiding a lot from us, Mike, and they're doing it because I think if they were to share exactly what they know, the world would go into a massive panic and misunderstanding, and so Jesus is coming. I guess my job is to let people know, look, the Lord doesn't give us the spirit of fear, but of power and love and a sound mind. We as Christians know where we're going. If we've got our faith in Christ, if we've been born again, but if you're watching right now and you're not saved, and this is all you got, this short life and an earth that's about to be consumed in an inferno is what I'm hearing. Because if you're telling me, Mike, that the core of the earth is becoming a nuclear reactor, and that's what you're saying, and that's what's happening, it's why you're saying it, then that nuclear reactor will eventually melt down. It's coming. That's in the Bible. It's coming. We can't stop it. And they know it, don't they, Mike? What are they try? Is that why Elon Musk wants to build a colony on Mars? I mean, trying to save the human race? Is that the knowledge? Is that why Elon Musk went for 4 straight days and never slept? Because he's trying to figure out a way to quickly get this rocket ship on zero force gravity to be able to get shuttles up to Mars and back. I mean, is that the kind of thing that's happening here? The scientific community is freaking out because they see the clock is ticking and they're not quite there yet. Is that what's happening?
Pastor Paul, it's not like the Wright brothers. They're not making these vehicles, right? And these attempts because it's fascinating. They're doing it because there's no alternative.
Desperation.
They will all tell everybody the same thing. It's coming to a point where if we do not, this is what they believe, if we don't get off this planet, that's going to be the end of the human species. That's the unbeliever. Those are the people with the money in the world, the unbelievers. This is in their hearts and in their minds, and they're working towards that goal. Yep. Right? Yep. That's the unbeliever. That's the average person. Yeah. But we all know, in Scripture it said if they go up to the heavens, God will pull them down again. There's no place anybody can hide. No. If they go down into the oceans, into the depths of the oceans, He'll pull them back up again. Yep. Right? There's nowhere to hide. Right. But in their hearts, Pastor Paul, they're overtaken by this desire to escape. They're overtaken by this desire. And it is so surprising that you would bring up that Musk lost sleep for 4 days. He's not the only one. Right, he may be the only one that was somebody reported on. But if you really look into the faces of most of these guys, they are troubled so deeply. They are severely troubled.
You're right.
They're desperate. They're desperate, right? And that moment of shock that you talked about, I call it shock and awe, right? The moment that just everybody has to go through it. The saints will be upheld by the strength of Christ, I believe.
Yeah.
Christ will stand up, but the unbeliever has no chance. I do believe that moment is upon our heads. I believe it's unfolding, right? Because we're having too many things on a continuous basis. We used to have breaks in between things, right? We don't have any breaks.
No, there's no more breaks.
It's happening on one side of the world, it's on the other. And these are extremes, right? These are also first-time moments, right?
Right.
Like the 500-year storm takes place. It seems it takes place every 3 weeks.
Every time we turn around.
They call it a 500-year storm if it hits every 3 weeks or something like that. Right?
Mike, this is the most passionate, you and I, we've been talking for 5 years. This is the most passionate I've ever heard you in a conversation. And like you said, this was supposed to have been a 500-year flood in North Carolina. Wait a minute. They said that about the one that hit Hurricane Maria that hit Puerto Rico. Wait a minute. They said that about Hurricane Harvey that hit Houston. Wait a minute. Yeah. They said that about Hurricane Lane or whatever it was that hit Hawaii and the volcano that erupted for 100 days. I mean, Mike, you're right. The worst typhoon in history, the biggest storm of the year, breaking another record with the heat wave in California. The water levels are falling in Lake Huron. The Yellowstone's rumbling. You're right, Mike. And you're saying the shock and all is upon us. Okay, I got to ask you a question because I know I'm running out of time here, and I'm going to beg you to come back and be my guest. I wish I could just ask you, could you come back on Sunday night, this Sunday night? I don't know. I'll have Heidi send you an email. But let me ask you this question. Okay, here comes the wave of energy. When is it going to, I know the deep probes are supposed to start receiving something from it. When are you anticipating this third wave to reach the Earth, wave number 3?
I believe collection of particles will take place this Thursday, right? So there'll be some type of feedback this Thursday based upon what is found, what is observed, right?
Okay.
Based upon that, it will give a better idea of the interactions that are going to be faced on the face of this Earth, whether it be internal, external, biological, we don't know yet, atmospheric, but the conditions that will evolve, I'm nosy, and I'll find out about.
All right, so you're saying that by next Thursday, that the information that the probes are going to gather tonight, which is October 25th, that by next Thursday, that reading is going to get back to the planet, and once you get your nosy, and once you get your eyes on that reading, you'll have a better understanding of the approaching power of wave number 3 and a little bit better understanding of the approximate date of when it will fully reach us.
That's right. I'm going to do it from publicly released information. Now, you have to know where to look and how to read it, right? So I'm going to I'll probably give some links. I may do that. Give some links for some of those who are enthusiasts so they can get the chemical readings that do come back, the optical data that comes back, so they can perform their own formulas. But Pastor Paul, that will give us an insight as to the depth and scope of the reactions that will take place this winter. This winter, I'll go ahead and say it, I'm troubled by this winter. I really am. We've seen escalations in things, right? But this winter, because of the Earth, because of the activity in the Earth, right? Because we have a true shift of temperate forest regions and Arctic regions, and all these things are happening because a great melt is taking place, and not from car mufflers or cows or anything like that, because the entire solar system is heating up. And because the sun is very volatile right now. The sun I have a feeling that the sun is going to do something for the first time, right? It'll be an observed phenomenon, right, that they will have to name. And they're going to have to name 2 new types of storms coming up right at the end, probably at the end of winter, if not in the winter, because the weather phenomenon is going to be extremely extreme. And remember also, due to this radiation coming into the planet, and because the mass of the atmosphere is increasing, right, I do believe that jet stream is going to change directions.
Wow.
That's going to be devastating for the crops. It did it before, under similar conditions, but not as bad as what we have now, right? While they're tap dancing in these other stories, right, there's a serious issue coming upon the face of the Earth.
All right. Now, Mike, I'm going to do this. You're going to get this info. You're going to be digging. Like you said, you're only going to give us what is publicly released. I know you got access beyond that, but you can't share that, and I respect that. But you'll help us with the publicly released information. You know where to look. Can I get you to commit to come back next Thursday night? Can you come back next Thursday night and give us some kind of idea what we're...
Oh, yes.
Okay, let's just lock that right now. Let's just lock it right now, 10 o'clock next Thursday night, folks, and we'll get more information. And I'm with you, Mike. I hope we can get through the winter. I got to let you go, Mike. I got to let you go because we got to give an altar call at this point.
Okay, Pastor Ball. God bless you, brother.
God bless you. I love you, and thank you, brother. I'll see you next Thursday.
Okay, will do.
All right. Mike from a